Hello everyone, dear friends. Thank you so much for watching our channel, Gurudев. And today we have a very special guest, old devotee, someone who had a very interesting, unorthodox spiritual path, Subal Prabhu.
Well,
Spiritual.
it was a long way.
Uh-huh.
I came in 1980 to the U.S. from Venezuela. That's where I'm from,
Uh-huh.
South America. And I came to Boston to study music in Berklee College of Music.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very prestigious jazz school of music. And I used to go to the temple there just not by accident, but actually by the wonderful program that the devotees had that time. They have a free dinner for the students every day.
Wow.
And I received this invitation by the steps of my college. And I was a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for almost like a year and a half, and I was determined to remain vegetarian. So I was eating cheese pizza every day for like, I don't know, 6 months. I was just sick to eating pizza.
Uh-huh.
But I went to the temple that same day. I got really surprised by when they opened the door, someone like this. But I was not going to let go the opportunity to eat free every day a vegetarian meal.
Uh-huh.
So I got hooked. I did that for 2 years, and then 2 years and a half eating every day at the temple.
So at first it was just like an ideal
Just
free
for
meal.
sadhana. Yes.
Okay.
The devotees knew they were very good.
Uh-huh.
They left me alone. I was not very
Interested in the religion itself. Were you brought up Catholic?
I was brought up Catholic, but my family was very liberal.
Uh-huh.
They didn't baptize me.
Okay.
Their thinking was that I should choose my own religion, when the time comes.
Right.
So I was grateful for that. They've always been supportive. So after college, I moved to New York and I started to work. And by chance, by Krishna's mercy, I moved 1 block from the Brooklyn Temple without knowing. So once I,
And then you said again, there's a free meal.
Yes, exactly. And it was so funny because I'm walking with my girlfriend, starting to walk in the neighborhood, and I see a devotee, and I go, "Oh, it's a devotee, hey, Hare Krishna, where's the temple?" And he just pointed out, the temple is right there, the Brooklyn Temple in Skemmerham. And I say, "Oh my God, is there prasadam?" And then he say, "Yes, come." He happened to be Prabhupada's appearance day, Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. And traditionally it's one of the biggest feasts that we have in a year in Brooklyn. Right after Janmashtami, a huge feast for Srila Prabhupada. And when I got there, was already, the celebration has already ended. The devotees they all disappeared, sleeping, for the rest of the day. And this devotee take me into this hall full with prasad. I never see so much food in my life.
And there's no one.
I was really excited. So anyway, I started to come regularly. I would come with a box, would take some place for my girlfriend and for my friends.
Still not very interested in religion or
No, by now
Uh-huh.
I was really softened, and I already have bought a Bhagavad Gita, and I would buy incense, so I was Prashant did his job.
interested.
And there was this clever devotee who also was Spanish, and he would talk to us, and then he started to notice that I would come just to eat. So he said, there is also prasadam in the morning. And I say, wow, yeah, really, can I come? And they say, yeah, but you have to come to the morning program. And I said, of course, yeah. So I started to come to a morning program.
Did you read Bhagavad Gita by this time?
No,
No, you just bought it. Okay.
So I will come to Guru Puja and Bhagavatam class and then breakfast. And then I will go to work. So that was my program, just prasadam, 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 and started to hear, associate with devotees. And my first experience really serving was with Indra Prabhu. And Indra was building at that time this very magnificent moving temple that will go in different parts of Manhattan, and it was a box truck, and it will open, and then he will put all these different things that he made himself, arches made of fiberglass, all golden. So the truck will disappear, and now what you see is a golden temple. And then he will sit so he opens, it's like almost like a stage, like a temple hall. And there was deities of Gornitai, and he will sit and he will chant. So that was that. So when he was building that was 1983. 1983, the spring of 1983. No, yeah, it was almost like March, a little past Gurpunima time. So I'm coming from work, I see this amazing, thing inside, mirrors and altars and canopies and, really beautiful inside. And I was asking to this guy who was working by himself there, no help, what is this? And he said, well, this is a moving temple. And he tells me, would you like to help me? I'm in a deadline. I have to deliver the end result of my work tomorrow morning. I find out that the two main leaders of the temple will come and, assess his whole job and things like that. And from there, they will consider continue supporting him. So it was a very important deadline. So he said, can you help? I said, sure, I helped you. So, and then he recruited a homeless person who also was around. So between the homeless person, his name was Frank, big black guy, and myself and Indra, we worked till almost 3 in the morning, and putting these arches and things like that. And the next day, I go to bed, I go to work, come back, and then finding the same spot, working still. And I say, hey, how did it go? And I say, no, it was a disaster. He almost killed himself because the whole thing collapsed. He didn't go to bed.
Wow.
He just stayed chanting his rounds, and he didn't sleep. And the next, in the morning, when the, big spiritual masters came to see, those were the time of the Sonalacharya in the ISKCON world. They come, and he tries to put the thing, not much help, and the whole thing just went down, boom, and almost fell in his head. So they gave him one more chance. So he had a new deadline the next day. So he asked me to help. We started to make a plan, and then the idea came to put some electric wrench, and that all worked. And then that was my first service. Maybe 2.5 months later, 3 months, I joined the temple.
Were you believing in God at this time?
I was open. I was open.
Interesting.
The circumstances were, it's all clever devotees, seeing, someone sincere. I mean, I was a good kid, with bad habits, drugs habits and this type of thing. But the circumstances were that we were renting an apartment, a big space between two couples, my girlfriend, myself, and my friend and his wife. And we have this big 2-floor apartment in Brooklyn with a garden, so it was great, we love it. But they sold the building and the new owner wanted that apartment, so we have to vacate.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm in the process of looking for a place, but I was gonna sublet a place because I had a ticket to go back to my country in about 9 months from that day.
So that was the plan, to come back to.
That was my plan. So, you know, I was gonna go back there, sell some equipment, a car, and then come back to New York.
Ah, okay, so not definitive, okay.
So I had that plan. So then one of the Sonal Acharyas, at that time Rameshwar Swami, was in town. And he sees, you know, we're members of the congregation, and, you know, John, and he comes and stops and starts to talk to us. So he asked me, so what do you do? And I said, we're musicians, you know, we have, I play music, you know, and trying to make a living with that. And so how's it going? I said, well, right now I'm looking for a sublet. You know, and he look at me and say, why are you doing that? I said, well, I don't want to rent, you know, because I'm gonna be away for maybe 4 months or something like that. So when I come back, I will look for a rental. And then he said, no, but why are you doing that? Why not moving into the temple? And I say, huh? I say, yeah, move to the temple, you save money, you try Krishna consciousness for the next 9-10 months. You know, what do you have to lose?
Exactly.
And you save all that money instead of paying it to the and I was like, yeah. And my girlfriend say, yeah, let's do it. And my friends, they say, we do it too. So there were 4 of us that joined that time. And that was really, really fantastic. I mean, it was at the height of the Sonal Acharya time. There were 150 devotees, roughly, in the temple.
Wow.
Imagine that. And
That's a lot.
that's a slide in the temple that is a bit bigger than this temple, but similar configuration.
So like a big
built
community.
also by the Masons, similar. So everything was big. Kirtans were amazing, the prasadam, the feast, everything was like mesmerizing. Really, really big. But there was problems that at that time I could not perceive. But I had a great time because I was a musician and I was assigned to be with Indra. So I would go every day with Indra during all that time. And during that time I met my spiritual master, who at that time he was not a spiritual master, he was just a resident sannyasi, His Holiness Prabhupada Swami. That was the time, 1983, it was again at the height of the Sonal Acharya time. So they only, in New York there was 2 Sonal Acharya gurus, and you can only choose them. You have to choose one or the other.
Oh, wow.
So in the zone that they are, they're the only spiritual masters. So everybody gets initiation, either one of them.
But if I understand correctly, at this point it was very ritualistic to you. It wasn't really like you were into understanding the science of Krishna consciousness.
I mean, I was really not.
It was more sentimental, right?
Not even sentimental.
No?
I was just very curious and open. I love to get to know things and experiment, and you know, it was so. And I love the music. I love the food, the prasadam. You know, so and new instruments, new sounds. So the music and the prasadam just draw me in, kirtan. So and I had a great time. I had a great time just with that. I had a very nice Bhakta program, so I got nicely trained. So we studied the Bhagavad Gita, but really my main hook was the kirtan and prasadam.
Music.
Yeah.
Music
So,
and belly.
yeah. So it was, I won't say either not sentimental and not ritualistic, because it was just real natural for me to be out in the street performing music. You know, I always was a performer. It's natural for me to perform. And, you know, it was great. I had a great time.
Did you feel any kind of like divine presence when you were doing that? How did it like became?
Only once I had something, a very special moment. And it was so fast, you know, it just came and went and go.
But you knew it existed from that.
Well, it was such an amazing experience, because it was like this. I'm chanting with Indra in the truck, and we spend, you know, 6 to 7 hours every day out.
Wow.
So it was, and Indra is a very intense devotee. Even back then, his singing was not as beautiful as it became later, you know, when everybody got to know Indra. But he had the same intense devotion and dedication. So it was very strong. And I'm playing with him. My instrument that he gave me was a tambura, so I'm playing this 4-string drum instrument, and I'm really absorbing myself into the sound.
Into vibration.
Because you know, it's just part of the training. You know, as a musician, you learn how to listen. And so I'm listening, and all of a sudden, in the middle of New York City, you know, we're parking in 42nd Street and Bryant Park, right there in between 6th Avenue and 5th Avenue. Big, busy place. And so many people standing, passing by, you know, all this, and we're chanting and chanting and chanting. And all of a sudden, I have this moment in which everything went white. You know, I didn't see anything. And I felt this really incredible sense of happiness.
Oh, wow.
And then, when that happens, and I became aware of it, it was just a moment. As soon as I go like, wow, poof, the whole thing went on. So my spiritual master at that time, he was just, you know, resident sannyasi. He will always ask me, how did it go today? And I say, well, Maharaj, I have this experience. And he just looked at me and say, well, Krishna just gave you a taste of the happiness of the soul. Imagine, I always remember this, imagine that's feeling 24/7. That's Krishna consciousness, that's the spiritual world. That's what we want, that's where we're going. And I say, wow, yeah. It's something that I've been playing music for a long time. You know, music was my passion. Performing was my passion. And I will always be very happy performing, and you know, and I will enhance that with the use of some, you know, drugs. But this was nothing compared to that moment, the sense of, you know, satisfaction and happiness. And it was just a taste. Param Drishta Nivartante, my Guru Maharaj said. So it was quite something. Yeah, I have a great time. I have a great time. I was supposed to be initiated at that time by Rameshwar Swami. But, so I joined somewhere in May, June, and this is going to be now March of the following year, 1984. And So I was supposed to be initiated on the Gorpunima of that year, 1984. But I had my ticket, so I have to go to Venezuela.
It was all temporary, yeah.
So I have to go to Venezuela, and then there's my spiritual master at that time. He's telling me, Rabba Swami was telling me, just go after you get initiated. Otherwise, you know, you're protected. In that situation, you're protected. So get initiated. I say, Maharaj, you know, I don't know if I can change this ticket. You know, we figured it out. We get you, the temple will buy another ticket. Or something. You know, I mean, he was just trying to convince me. And then he tracked Rameshwar Swami, wherever he was in the world, and put it in the telephone and put me. And then I say, no, Maharaj, I'm just going there for a few months and I'll be back. You know, I'm going there to sell a car and sell some music equipment and recording equipment, and then bring the money, and then buy my equipment here, and we set up, you know, that was still my plan was to be a musician. My plan was not to be a brahmachari, you know, but I'm a devotee, you know.
Right.
So, then, anyway, I follow my plan.
You went to Venezuela?
Yeah, I went.
Okay.
And circumstantially, the 4 months that was planned became 2 years.
Okay.
Because the economy in Venezuela collapsed just at that time.
Oh, wow.
And
so you couldn't go back?
Basically, the money that after selling everything, was nothing. So I got stuck in Venezuela for 2 years, till 1986, and working with my father's factory.
Were you continuously reading the books of Prabhupada or something?
No.
Like, you weren't even... Okay.
I was very frustrated, unhappy. I got into, you know, my old bad habits. I thought I could hold, and it took only like 2 weeks, and I was finished.
Wow.
So then the only thing that I maintained was being a vegetarian. But there was one thing that I think is in retrospect, I consider that it was very, very good, that always saved me, that I had this very positive impression of Krishna consciousness, and a tremendous respect for devotees who are able to remain there. So when I came in contact with devotees in Venezuela at that time,
so there were devotees in Israel.
Immediately I felt very appreciative of the devotees and respectful, and I would start to go to a Sunday feast there at times. So I kept myself, Krishna kept me in contact. And I was what is called at that time bloop. I was a bloop devotee. You heard that term before?
No.
Bloop.
No.
It's an ISKCON jargon, you know, that is classic. It's an ISKCON classic jargon. Bloop means that, you know, it's a sound when you fall into the ocean of material existence. You go like bloop. You know, go into that
bloop.
Yeah. So I was a blooping devotee. But that was a blessing in disguise, because 1985, the whole Sonaracharya system collapsed. And the 2 gurus, both Bhavananda and Rameshwar, they fell down.
Oh, wow.
And the whole thing was devastating. Devastating in the world, but especially here in America, and especially in New York, was complete devastation. Complete devastation. My girlfriend was still here. We were not boyfriend and girlfriend anymore.
But she was still with Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, she got initiated eventually, but you know, also my friend and his wife was still here. My friend hated it. We were, you know, both musicians. His wife loved it. And she became initiated by Rameshwar. and they will tell me, they will send me, letters and say, this is a disaster. I mean, the whole thing, for 150 devotees, I came back in 1986, the whole thing was already finished. And as I come into the temple is empty. And then, I enter the temple room for the first time as I arrived, 1986. I pay obeisances, and then as I, stand up, I see someone standing in front of me, and it was Rupa Swami. So he left. He was the last one that saw me out, and he was the first one that saw me back. So he was, and then I see him there standing in front of me with a big smile and saying, "You came back." And then he immediately took my information, and next day I get a call. Do you want to go on Harinam? In Indras, my same service with Indras, because it was, it was a perfect service for me. I said, yeah. So I started to go on Harinam with His Holiness Gunagrahi Goswami, who used to take Indra's truck. But that time I find out all the things that happened. So the 150 devotees have shrunk into 15 devotees or less.
How did that happen? Why?
Everybody was broken. I mean, that was a huge traumatic event in the ISKCON world. As you know, these Sonalacharyas, for the generation of devotees that came after Srila Prabhupada left, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, disciples at that time, the whole idea the Sonalacharya was presenting is that you worshipping a pure devotee of the Lord like Srila Prabhupada. They will have, in the Brooklyn temple at that time of the Sonalacharya, there was Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasam in the middle, and two equal Vyasasams on the side, and then they will sit, on the same level of Srila Prabhupada, with the same amount of worship, with the same amount of honor, and obviously, these were devotees that were still, they took sannyas very young, and they were not prepared to receive that type of adoration in the level of, our founder Acharya. So that was the devotees who were giving their life with, it was fanatic. Some were really fanatic. They got broken. So it was devastation. Devotees left. There was a time in which there was very little trust in the ISKCON leadership, the GBC gurus, the guru system, because devotees were very hurt. The ones that remained, most of them were scarred too, very scarred. So, everybody that went through that was very traumatized. I was spared. I didn't go through that.
You were
the
away.
only thing that I remember is that this was really fantastic. I really had a great time in Krishna
And this happened like in a very short time, right?
It happens in those 2 years that I was in Venezuela.
Wow.
So it was a blessing for me.
Exactly.
And I came and I was absolutely no scars. The only thing that I remember was all positive. And so Rupa Swami immediately put me to work on the Harinams, and eventually Gunagrahi Goswami was an amazing personality. He already left this world about 2 years ago. An amazing, charismatic, visionary preacher. So he had this vision of starting preaching to the youth, the new generation punks that were part of the, punk scene in New York and part of the East Coast. So he went to Washington to start something that was called Krishna Fest. And the Krishna Fest is from most of, Kostuba and Raghunath from New York, and Shelter, 108, all these punk bands that, proliferated, Krishna punk or hardcore, Krishna hardcore that proliferated. That was Gunagrahi Goswami's preaching, and created a whole generation of very strong kids, preachers, and they were joining like anything. So he left for that, and then there's the Harinam Indra's truck to be taken out. So I was asked by my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Ramapa Swami, if I will go and take this truck every day. I will be sort of taking charge of the truck along with another devotee who was just recently initiated.
Did you get initiated at this point?
No. I was Bhakta Cesar at that time. So I say I love to do it, but I need to pay rent. I have to work. I had at that time, I was doing some gigs with this African musician, and I was working in a health food store. So I only have times in the weekends. I've been going for the weekends, with Maharaj, but now, so I say, well, consider, see if you can find, some way of earning some.
Easy to say.
Yeah, so I was, okay, well, when you're young, you can do anything, and I was that sort of hippie type. So, so then I started to, look for things like casually, and I did find something that would be perfect. That is, a job that will have the full day free, and is, from 4 in the morning to 6 in the morning.
Oh, wow. What kind of job it is?
You take bundles of papers, newspapers, and you deliver it, you do a round and deliver it to the different
buildings,
newsstands that were all over the city.
Right.
So, and that was that time, with newspapers, and that was 1986 at that time. So the problem is I don't have a car. So, I dismiss it. I find, this will work very good, but, I don't have a car. So I dismiss it, forget about it. I couldn't find anything else. And then Ramapa Swami asked me, so have you thought about it? And, and yes, yeah, Maharaj, but I don't find something, that will pay my living like that. And I say, well, did you look? And I say, yeah, I found something, but I don't have a car. So he pulls out of his pocket and give me the key of a van here.
Wow.
So he gave me the keys of his van, or the van that, and with that, I quit my job. I started this job. So I will go at 4, come back at 6, and then go to the rest of the morning program, take breakfast, and take the truck out with my godbrother and another devotee. So that was, I started. I did that with him for about 6 years, They got married in 1992. For 6 years. My service was Harinam every day. Taking Indra's truck, or taking a festival truck, and things like that. And it was beautiful. My spiritual master, is an amazing personality, since, part of this program is to talk about the spiritual master.
Exactly. But it sounds like you have almost like a friendly friendship with him. That's how it
More
sounds.
than a friendship. It's a very close relationship. But, it's also, it's a mentor, it's a father, it's a friend. It's that type of
Yeah, because usually we have kind of like stereotyping image that guru is somebody that you all the time you just do dandavats and whatever he's saying you're taking right away to the word and doing it, and that's pretty much it. That's the stereotyping, but that is more we interviewing people, more we see that it's pretty much
my spiritual
different.
master. Yeah, my spiritual master was a really expert, and very expert on getting the best out of me and the devotees who were around him. And you have to picture how difficult that time was. Very, 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 very difficult, because you have a whole community that was broken, that was hurt, that was disappointed, broken-hearted, and angry, frustrated, because it's almost like they felt cheated, they felt used.
Of course.
And so there was a lot of distrust on the institution. There was a distrust of a spiritual master. There was a distrust of the GBC. You have to work with that. Most of Prabhupada disciples who were in New York at that time, and actually, in the East Coast, most of them, they're starting to go to India or to the Eastern Bloc, Eastern European countries that were starting to open.
Right.
At that time, Poland starting to open like anything, and the preaching, and eventually a few years later, the Berlin Wall just was finished. Russia is starting to open a little bit, so there was a lot of preaching opportunities
and successful
with Eastern
preaching.
Europeans.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And many of the powerful preachers, they're starting to, divert the energy to places that were more favorable and open. The U.S. was devastated. New York was a disaster.
Wow.
And Robert Swami stayed. Devotees like Indra, Krumarupa, Hansarupa, who is the temple president right now, most of them, they actually went to Vrindavan. There was a huge amount of devotees that went to Vrindavan. Mukunda Datta, who is the main pujari, they were all devotees of New York, of Brooklyn. And they were the leaders. And when this whole thing just went down, they find shelter in Vrindavan. And of course, they did amazing services to build Vrindavan Yatra there. Indra and Kurmarupa and all of them, Mukunda Datta became the main pujari of Krishna Balaram. So, but back here in the US, only a handful. In New York, we have Prabhupada Swami and Gunagrahi Goswami. In Philadelphia, Ravindra Prabhu. In Boston and that area, there was Niranjana Maharaj. So, but everybody watch.
Yeah.
This is just too difficult. Prabhupada Swami single-handedly, basically, rebuilt New York with his visionary preaching. And between him, Gunagrahi Goswami, Ravindra Prabhu, they started to rebuild the Northeast. And it became, again, very vibrant by the preaching of these devotees, who basically, they went, what Robert Swami and Gunagrahi Goswami did was very similar. They focused on three things: Kirtan, Prasad distribution, and book distribution. So Robert Swami had this machinery of preaching that combines the three things. And we were present in every major gathering of people in New York. That was with street fairs or expos or whatever was there that people would gather. We had a booth.
Wow.
And we do prasadam, books, and kirtan.
So at this time we stopped in 1992.
This was 1986. Between 1986 and 1992.
Right. And you
the whole thing just boom, it's starting to flourish again.
Wow. And you got initiated at this point?
I got initiated, yes, in 1989.
Finally.
It was supposed to be initiated
It took you some time.
It was supposed to be initiated in 1988, but my old girlfriend came to visit and I went into a spin. Nothing gross happened, but I told my spiritual master, I would tell them everything.
Oh, wow.
So I say, I got a little bit into a head spin when, my old girlfriend, visiting, and she looks at me and say, okay, I think we have to wait for initiation.
Wow.
It was such a wonderful relationship with my spiritual master, because he will use my creativity. I have a creative mind. And he will fan that like anything, and I felt encouraged, empowered,
Motivated
and it was
inspired.
really fun because I had all that space to be creative. We will sit every morning to make a plan for what we're doing, and every week we make a plan for what we do in the week. So we had everything mapped out with permits that we have to get, where we have to do, and in between, when we don't have the street fairs, we take the truck and put like a small little festival in different places of the city. So it was all these massive plans. It was a lot of preaching, a lot of people starting to come, new people starting to join. We start to get recognized, people will invite us to movies and to recordings and things like that. We were part of 2 movies, major films, get paid. We were part of a big broadcast of the National Geographic of the subways of New York, because we spent time chanting in the subways. We were invited to record with pop artists, like we're in an album with the B-52s at that time.
So you were cool kids.
We're having a blast. We're having a really good time. And for me, it was great because I was Ramapa Swami's sort of crew. So I was answering to him. I was not, and that was my only service. Just to go out. It was fantastic.
It's so interesting. A lot of people think that spiritual path is something very ascetic. It's something like you really should go through a lot of sufferings in order to grow.
Fun.
Look at you.
It's so
like
fun. It was the best time of my life.
Wow.
I mean, every day was an adventure. It was a lot of work. There was no break for us. 7 days, 7 hours. And we didn't need a break. It was like, I was in my element, performing every day, building a stage, putting sound, big sound, and things like that, and and people, and we distribute books. It was really, really fantastic. And we had all this facility that Ramapa Swami keeps providing. And so when Indra Struck died of old age, and also we were not so conscious to maintain things properly, he got us a flatbed truck that is, with a devotee built, it was like like a, you know, that things that goes in parades.
Right.
So
Like chariot.
yeah, you know, a flat bed with ornaments
Right.
and frames and things like that, big sound system. And then we had to take that truck in the street of Manhattan.
No one would stop you?
No
Police
one
was
can
okay
stop
with
you.
that?
They can't stop you because the laws, we also got well informed about the laws. So we
Freedom of speech.
besides that, you need a permit
Right.
for sound if you are actually in one place. But if you're moving, you don't need
Oh my God.
So we have this blasting
That's
kirtan.
brilliant.
We have this blasting kirtan moving in the slow traffic of New York, up and down.
Wow.
You know, eventually we stop where we have the permit. You know? But we spend at least 3 to 4 hours a day just driving around New York with blasting kirtan.
Oh my God.
And people love it. The New Yorkers, they really love it.
Did you make a lot of devotees?
Oh, you know, we have so much exposure that I'm saying
Of course.
that New York, the New York that people are enjoying right now, everything has Ramapa Swami's fingerprints. But because of his personality, he doesn't get recognized with that. Because he always puts someone in front, like, you know, he put these kids, you know, to be the organizers. He had people that organize these programs, but the mind behind everything and the vision was him. And yeah, the Bhakti Center, when you go back, you find his fingerprints. Because he supported the devotee who eventually, you know, was invited to manage what it was before. The Bhakti Center was a place called the Sanctuary that was related to Kirtanananda Swami when he was expelled from ISKCON. So Ramapa Swami has given the facility to these devotees to preach in Manhattan in 26 2nd Avenue, and then which is around the corner of the Bhakti Center.
Right.
Everything has his fingerprints.
Wow. So what happened after 1992?
I got married,
Okay.
and then when I got married, I was sent to Chicago, to the New Jersey temple to help there.
Okay.
So both my wife and I, we moved to the...
Your wife was that girlfriend that was coming?
No. No, that was all gone long
Okay.
time. No.
Uh-huh.
My wife and I, we got our marriage was arranged by my spiritual master. She's a girl from South Africa, a photographer, professional photographer at that time, and you know, really wonderful person. And our marriage was arranged. We got married, and then we were asked to
Continue.
go. And it happens that also I was trying to find out, you know, the whole process, it was very much, you know, guided by the very expert way Ramapa Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj, were to see how to get the best of myself and my wife at that time. Because I was a musician, and throughout, I was not in the spirit of a brahmachari. I was in the spirit of, you know, musician. I'm just having a blast.
Musician.
You know, and so I would do, it was quite something. Ramapa Swami took quite a risk with me because he made an arrangement for me to move to the temple so I can do better the service that I really was into doing, you know, managing the Harinam. So I moved to the temple. but I didn't give up my music pursuance. So I had a band at that time. We have this alternative rock band called Changing Bodies.
Oh, wow.
With this, you know, the other members were these super, super talented musicians, very good looking. So we had a really good thing going. Music was very good, and we started to create a following in New York. So my program with this is like, I don't know in the world how I was able to do that program. My program was that I will be the whole day in Harinam, come back like around 5, take a shower, eat some prasadam, put my rock and roll uniform, you know, all black,
Yeah.
and then, you know, go with my instrument either to rehearse or to play a gig. When I play a gig, sometimes I will come back like around midnight, 1 in the morning, and then the next day again, you know, go for the morning program, chant my rounds, and go for Harinam. And that was my daily program.
Day and night.
And my Guru Maharaj asked me, okay, so let's talk about this. You know, when I was moving to the temple. So how much time you need? You know, I explained. Well, he said, what is the plan? So I said, well, you know, the band is doing very well. And the plan is that we get, you know, a record deal. And we're getting all these invitations and response. You know, people are come and see us and things like that. And we're playing, you know, in all the major venues in New York. And so we get a record deal, and I start to make a living out of that. The idea is to become successful as a you know, rock band. And then after, you know, you get to have some sort of a space in the world, the rock world, then I would like to start to turn my attention to do film scoring. So that was the idea. But, you know, because I will have, you know, I'll be already in the whole industry, then it will be all easy. The idea was to get in the industry at that time. Say, okay, how much time do you think you need? Say, well, things are moving right now, Guru Maharaj. I think 5 years. That was like 1997, we had that discussion. 5 years. So time passed, you know, we still playing, and during that period of time, you know, I'm not thinking of years or anything. We just day to day going to, you know, the thing. The transformation is starting to happen because I was very attached to the Harinam. And for me, the Harinam now has become my passion, and music has become more or less work, because especially playing the gigs in these clubs has become really
Heavy.
difficult, heavy, because of the smoke, the night, you know, and
The mood, the atmosphere.
the mood and the smell, especially, you know, New York at that time in the 80s was very grimy. You know, everything was, you know, like, and we play a lot in this place that was called CBGB. It's a very famous alternative club in New York. And it was you know, it was a dirty hole. So, so I was, you know, having a hard time, and the time is past, and we have promise after promise, and we just don't get signed. So it was starting to wear me out, that, you know, there's so much work, we're doing all this effort, you know, the music we like, everything, everybody say how great it is, but we're not getting signed. So So then it comes the big break. We get invited to this big festival, rock festival in Milwaukee. And we're supposed to be one of the opening acts for this big, you know, the main act. I can't even remember what the act was, but you know. But it was the main act, and we're going to be, there's about 3 opening acts, and we have the middle spot of the 3 opening acts. So the main concert was going to be like around 8, and then there was 5, 6, and 7. We have the spot at 6. So it was going to be a huge exposure because this was the biggest, you know, outdoor festival at that time. Thousands and thousands of people. So that was going to give us a break. And we get in our van, we travel, we, you know, nothing, there's no glamour in the whole thing. It's just, you know, very difficult, 16 hours just driving in a van, you know, with equipment. And we get to Milwaukee, and immediately, nice response. We get an interview with a local newspaper, and we have this amazing article that, you know, here's one of the new coming bands, you know, from the scene in New York. And so everything was set up that this is the break that we need. The day comes, we go into the stage, the place was packed. There were maybe like 15,000 people right there already. Beautiful day, open, you know, by the lake. And we're starting to set up our equipment to do the sound check. And then all of a sudden, the sky started to get dark. And then really quick, very dark, and then, you know, moving, and they start to pour this rain.
Right the moment when you start singing?
No. we just starting to set up to do a sound check, you know, before our performance. It was, you know, maybe like half an hour before the performance, you know. So it started to rain really hard. So we have to cover the equipment. Everybody left, and then, you know, we have to go back into some backstage, you know, trails and trailers, and then we're waiting there, and I'm just thinking,
oh my God,
this is not meant to be. And then my friends, he said, oh, stop, you cannot be so negative, you know, we get there. Anyway, the rain lasted for an hour. And after an hour, then everything went back to, you know, brightly sun and birds, and there was even a
rainbow.
A rainbow.
Oh my God.
And the next band just gone. So our spot was gone.
Oh my God.
We didn't perform.
Oh my God.
You know, we got paid, but we didn't perform. And I say, that's it, I'm quitting. And then somehow or other, you know, my co-band members, you know, they just calm me down, you know, and it's okay, you know, like that. And then we're back to New York, you know, I'm back in the temple, and then doing, you know, my service. Rabba Swami called me to his office, and then he say, you know, Subal, you know what day is today? I say, no, Maharaj, Friday? Say, no.
5 years passed.
5 years ago, we had this discussion, you know. He had a book.
That's fantastic. Wow, what a story, what a story.
He got in his book. 5 years ago, we had this discussion. How's it going? Have something moved towards, you know, your goals?
Right.
And I say, no, Maharaj, I'm quitting now. So that was it. I quit. I quit the music.
Did you ever regret
it? No, but there has been a process. There has been some more in process because eventually, I mean, like, you know, there's always this hope that I can do music, but not for living, but for myself. And so far, not a lot of opportunities. The best opportunity I had back again was during COVID.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow.
But no, but I was, you know, there was so much wonderful opportunities to serve that actually fulfill me. And the fact is that, you know, I think part of my character is that I need to find ways to be creative. And I think I always was given that space, you know. So when I say, okay, I quit, then the question was, what am I gonna do? You know, especially because I need to get married, you know, and I don't see myself as a renouncing. I'm actually quite attached to the idea of, you know, I mean, I was very busy to be thinking about sex, but, you know, it was something that it didn't go out of my mind. So I need to make a living. So, but how about if I make a living to be a brahmana? You know, I'd be a brahmana in a temple. You know, and can live. And so he said, yeah, okay. So we tried that. So we got married. My wife, Krishna Archana, she is, you know, a very austere sort of, not austere in a bad way, but she's a very, she always have lived very simply, you know, and is a very organized person and very much regulated and all that. So she went well with the idea of being in the temple. So there was an opportunity in the New Jersey temple, because they needed to rebuild the New Jersey temple, and they had an apartment there that they could offer to a couple.
Very nice.
And my wife has she had some means of monthly income that circumstantially came to her. So we didn't need to work. We have a small amount that would come. And we had an apartment and we have everything covered. So we did that and started to serve in the New Jersey temple. And we did that for 8 years.
And then moved here?
No. Then we moved out of the temple. We bought a house in this college town, and I started a preaching center for almost 3 years. We did a preaching center there.
Oh wow!
New Brunswick, by Rutgers University.
Wow!
We had a very successful college program from the New Jersey temple in Rutgers. So when we decided, okay, we're moving out of the temple, we, you know, bought this 2-family house and made it into the attic, into this beautiful temple room, and
nice.
One of the apartments the devotees would live in there, and you know, and in the bottom apartment we live. So that was our first house.
Perfect. Yeah. Even if you're moving out from the temple moves out with you.
Well, we got really. It was, you know, it became part of your life now.
Of course.
I mean, it has been, and again, is always the presence of my spiritual master, sort of, you know, mood of building, of helping, of you know, that type of thing. So yeah, we were. There was a time that we were close to actually move to Vrindavan and start to work in the Gurukul of Vrindavan, but Rupa Swami, when we ask for his blessing, and they say, well, at the end, our principle is whatever he said, we do.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, if you say that, he prefer us to stay in New Jersey and keep working with the kids there in New Jersey. So we did that. And in 2005, we were on our way to South Africa. My wife is from South Africa, so we were moving to Johannesburg.
Mm-hmm.
We had already set up things there. The reason was that, the center, at the preaching center, at one point I couldn't maintain.
Mm.
So I had to start to work.
Mm.
But because I have spent the last 15 years of my life not working,
mm-hmm.
my curriculum was
not very attractive.
not very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of experiences in management, in temples and things like that, but
it's not corporation. It's not a business corporation. Yeah.
So the only job that I could get,
mm-hmm.
I really wanted to teach music.
Mm.
But the only job that I was able to get was selling music equipment in a music store, and I hated it.
It's
I was not a
It's a
salesperson.
sad job, yeah.
Yeah, and I became good about it because we're trained as devotees to be served to service to others. So because I had that mood, then I got good at being a salesperson, but I hated it. So we thought, and I was not making much money. It was not really good pay. It was a lot of work, but not great pay. It was probably mostly making between 30 and 40,000 a year, which was
okay for
okay,
yourself, but to maintain the preaching center and do.
So I couldn't maintain it. So then we decided in South Africa. My wife has a big network of friends, artistic friends, and we went there and we connected, and I connected with people, and it was very nice, and there was good opportunities for me to work in the music field, recording, and with the money that we had, the house and some savings, we could be situated very comfortably there. Life is cheaper. And we know the main spiritual master there, and he spent some time in New Jersey, so we have this relationship. We have everything figured out. And we asked the blessings of my Guru Maharaj and said, well, he doesn't go to South Africa. I said, well, we always will do what you like us to do. And he said, well, if you say that, then I would prefer you to come to Chicago.
Wow, okay.
And I said, okay, so Chicago is. So we moved to Naperville. And we stayed in Naperville for 10 years. And then after 10 years, we moved here to work in the Chicago temple.
Wow.
So that's the story of my life.
What a story. No, it's so amazing.
That's actually about a stretch of 41 years.
This is so interesting. You see how God was giving you, a lot of people doing, like we were saying, doing a lot of work on themselves, trying to find their path, their people, their gurus. To you, it's all happened naturally. You were never really asking for it.
But you have your theme is about the spiritual master. It was his expertise.
So you still were
because he didn't it was all a matter of the heart. There was not something that it was out of duty or out of you have to do this because otherwise you don't please all that stuff. No, it was something. It was loyalty. It was connection. It was and it was just being part of that relationship. And that relationship has been very strong throughout. And I'm still I don't have. There's no relationship in the world that can come close to a relationship with.
Your relationship with the Guru. Did you have like some kind of like a strike when you saw him for first time? Does the master that I'm gonna follow, or was it just like was growing with the time?
It's growing with the time.
That's right, okay.
Yeah. Because from the very beginning, he was the person who was really there. You know, even when I joined 1983, you know, it was a huge temple with so many people. You know, no kid that was 22 years old. You know, you can disappear on that exuberant, you know,
For sure.
amount of devotees with so much charisma and all that. I got really sick shortly after. I got, you know, this huge cold, you know, so I was miserable in my little bunk bed, you know, in the Bhakta room. There was only one room at that time in the Brooklyn temple. The rest was a huge space with double bed bunks, you know, like rows.
Whoa.
Like that. You know, it was like military barracks. But there was, for the new Bhaktas, it was a little room that, you know, will host about 10 Bhaktas. So I had, you know, I was in my bed, completely miserable with a huge cold. And, you know, the whole temple is going to the program, everybody there is, and I'm by myself, they're completely miserable. And then who I see, you know, someone comes in the room, you know, comes to my bed, you know, I sort of like, and then I see it's Rampa Swami with a picture of ginger tea, very hot. And then he says, here, you drink this. We call it Brahmasta. So it's then he told me, ginger, lemon, pepper, and then you do that, you take this whole picture and you feel better. So, you know, he was there from the very beginning. From the very beginning, he will always, every day ask me, find me and ask me how did it go with the day. So I have that relationship that is starting to grow. This person is constantly there. As I'm leaving, you know, it's a person who tells me these wisdom guidelines and all these things. And then when I come back, he's there. When I was leaving, he was there, concerned, you know, that I will fall down if I leave. And then, you know, after that, when I come back, he just took me under his wing. He made this special arrangement. Said, you don't see that, you know. I mean, I was not a brahmachari. You know, I never put saffron. I was just, you know, someone really. He saw the potential and he just gave me the space. And then he put me to do the thing that was just so perfect with my being.
With your nature.
With my nature, because to me, to be doing music up in front of people, it was just natural. You know, it's natural. And then the potency of doing that under a devotee of Krishna, then, you know, you get amazing amount of mercy. So I receive, I'm fortunate to receive so much mercy because of my spiritual masters, you know, masterful way of dealing with myself. And I saw him doing that with so many people. So many people. So I'm sold out. I'm sold out to my spiritual master.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Subal Prabhu. Rock and roll. devotee.
I still have my instruments.
You still have your creativity as well, so one day maybe we'll hear a new album.
Yeah, I have some songs.
Yeah?
I can sing you something really.
Okay, would love that.
Okay.
We'll put it with the extra edition to our interview.
My escapades during COVID.
That sounds great. Let's do that. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions and if you would like to hear more about Subal Prabhu, don't hesitate to put the comments